We can only free ourselves from suffering by going deeper into psychic wounds, to accept what is, but to also accept the fact that trauma wounding is also a teacher. Hello, I'm Dr. Michael Hoffrath. Today, I'd like to provide an overview of depth psychological practices. Depth psychology is a very broad umbrella term. It's used for a wide array of holistic and integrative healing practices and modalities that focus on exploring the hidden or deeper aspects of our human lived experience through the subtle unconscious and transpersonal aspects of the unconscious. A lot of words, I know. From a clinical perspective, depth psychology is non-pathologizing and strength-affirming. Depth practices explore the unconscious underworld of psyche through the language of psyche, which often consists of imagery, symbols, metaphor, colors, numerology, dreams, ritual, behavioral patterns, body movement, and even archetypal patterning. Depth practices focus attention on investigating and unearthing hidden unconscious processes for greater clarity and understanding. The premise is to entice these hidden shadow triggers into conscious awareness so that they can be processed, integrated, and dissipated out of our body, alleviating psychic pain and suffering. Self-awareness of unconscious behavioral patterns allows us to move through them, to heal unresolved trauma wounds, adverse memories, and core beliefs that tend to fuel undesirable behavior and limiting belief patterns, so we can move into our authentic self and into wholeness. To live an authentic life, we must face our shadow issues head on. We can't just go around them, over them, or under them. We must go straight through them. The shadow will always come out at the worst possible time, in the worst possible way, with the worst possible outcome. So peering under the veil of the superficial conscious realm and into the underworld of psyche allows us to access our truth, new insights and understandings that often drive unwanted adverse behavioral programming, limiting belief patterns, so we can correct these false stories created by the conscious ego through all of our defense mechanisms. These defense mechanisms direct our life, opening the door to reconnect with our truth, our intuition, our instincts, and authentic self is how we go from confusion and uncertainty to clarity and understanding. From this place of deeper truth, we can connect with our true purpose and find meaning in our life. This shift in perspective allows us to view ourselves through a different lens, observe the often missed subtle nuances directing our life. So this new clarity connects us with those missing parts of ourself that often manifest into us feeling stuck, lost, scattered, powerless. Illumination of what had been hidden from us for so long in the unconscious realm allows us the ability to shift old stories that had previously held us prisoner, revise old limiting belief patterns, process and integrate old wounds so we can move into our highest self and feel whole again. Depth psychology is often referred to as Jungian due to Jung's extensive work on the structured framework of the unconscious psyche. Depth practices focus on the underworld of psyche, human development, personality formation, and the process of individuation or self-actualization. Individuation is the process of bringing our true potential into a concrete living reality, which serves to make us feel more empowered, self-assured, and confident. Jung believed that psychological distress was a result of an imbalance within psyche. This is often experienced as alienation from our true personality, or what Jung referred to as the self. A Jungian approach seeks to restore our connection to self and our authentic self. Depth practitioners work through the archetype of the wounded healer, which means they have skin in the game. Both the client and the depth practitioner have wounded souls. Working together, they can merge their souls to evoke a healing. Mutual vulnerability creates a dynamic of equality between the practitioner and the client, which serves to facilitate safety and trust. Depth practices, adaptability, and pliability are representative of the unique strength they have in unmasking the repressed hidden parts of self. Uncovering the root cause or origin of repressed unconscious memories, images, stories, and behavioral patterns are often the missing piece of the puzzle for recovery and healing. The healing process is not about fixing something broken inside of us. It's more about making space for what needs to be voiced by the unconscious psyche for resolution. Healing should be viewed as more of a transformative journey than an actual destination or fixed goal. Metaphorically speaking, recovery can be equated to peeling away layers of an onion until we get to the core, which allows the true self to feel safe enough to emerge and to be actualized. Depth practices involve deeper inquiry into the soul of our human lived experience versus just focusing on what is being presented or individual symptoms. Depth approaches are more interested in discovering what has been silenced, what has been marginalized, what has been hidden from our conscious awareness due to fear, stress, anger. In a nutshell, and from a more biopsychosocial perspective, depth psychological approaches focus on addressing unconscious processes versus a predetermined or fixed agenda or a manualized treatment or a treatment goal. An inherent strength of depth approaches is that they are intuitive, pliable, and flexible. The term depth implies going deeper into psyche, which allows access to the root cause or origin of trauma issues and wounding. Depth approaches can be highly effective in getting to the root of psychospiritual maladies, moral injury, identity loss, shame, guilt, sadness, loss, and grief. They also offer a safe space to examine previously repressed emotions. More importantly, depth practitioners place greater focus on the client's relationship with themselves than on their behavioral issues or concerns. Depth approaches often allow hidden thoughts and memories to reveal themselves organically, more holistically, versus attempting to extract traumatic memories through repeated exposure. This tends to be a less obtrusive and forceful way of doing therapy. We can only free ourselves from suffering by going deeper into psychic wounds to accept what is, but to also accept the fact that trauma wounding is also a teacher. We must learn what our psychic wounds want us to learn, what they want to teach us, which in turn provides a cleansing, a purifying of old wounds so they can be processed, integrated, and released. From this perspective, depth practices place great value on constructs such as storytelling, myth, rituals, ceremonies, and even prayers. There are also experiential activities such as art, drama, dance, vision quests, and rite of passage initiations. All of these have been used by the indigenous and tribal communities to cleanse and purify their souls. Trauma wounding can catapult the ego into a very defensive posture for the purpose of protection, so we can survive and cope. The conscious ego's primary purpose is to protect us from emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical harm. So to achieve this goal, the conscious ego creates adverse coping and defensive mechanisms and can erect imaginary walls, which both terrify and protect us from additional pain and suffering. However, the underlying psychic wounds remain lodged deep in the underworld of psyche. They remain lodged in our shadow and hidden from the conscious realm. So while coping mechanisms often help us survive and get past traumatic events, eventually denial, repression, projection, and suppression of the truth do rise to the surface, and the cycle of pain and suffering continues. Just like a rat on a wheel, we just keep going around and around and around. Depth practices allow us to access the deeper, more embodied trauma, to unearth our truth, which allows soul wounds to be healed. Soul healing is a process of subtraction rather than addition. Wholeness in mind, body, and spirit moves us back into alignment with our true self. transcending us so old wounds and belief systems no longer define us. Transcendence creates new understandings and clarity and allows us to move into a more compassionate, empathetic, and loving way of being with ourselves, with others, and the world at large. Thank you for watching today. I'm Dr. Michael Hoffrath, and I look forward to being of service to your inner healing needs.